6-round fight. You know what I mean? There's a 1-round difference. That's it. Okay? Well, somebody won 4, somebody won 2. Well, we know the other guy that has it, Dennis Ryan, has it 59-55. Here's a 10-8 round. How in the world is that possible? Ward lost a 10-8 round. You know what I mean? How did that score come about?
Well, it just honestly seems, as we were talking earlier, that sometimes the result is preordained. It's, well, you're supposed to win, so you win. And what happens on the scorecard and what happened in the ring, when you got that much of a difference between how famous a fighter is, often it's completely different. And, I just wish that there was some way to stop that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, people inside the sport and around the sport, I mean, truly, they know Darnell. You know what I mean? They know of him. I mean, guys like Roy Jones Jr., guys like Max Kellerman, they know the truth about him, They can tell. And Darnell is learned. If you start looking at his career, he started taking it out of the judges' hands, okay? He's sitting pissed on this.
Well, Darnell has taken it out of the judges' hands lately, very frequently.
Yeah. He's decided to take this out of the judges' hands. We're going to stop letting him. We can't get robbed if they can't get up. And
that would be an interesting show one time to look at some of the really, really flagrant decisions over the course of the history of boxing. I was thinking about the Jersey Joe Louis fight, the first one, a 2 knockdown fight, and they give it to Joe Louis. Good Lord.
Yeah, and there's several of them. I mean, the biggest robbery in history of boxing to me will always be Roy Jones Jr. for getting robbed at Seoul, Korea. Okay, now that was amateur boxing. That was the Olympics. But that was the worst robbery I've ever seen in the sport, period. I mean, that was just terrible. It was so bad that he won the Val Baker Trophy for being the best boxer at the whole Olympics, but yet he didn't win the gold in his own weight class.
Yeah, I think they recognized that one, but I was going to say that by the same token, how about Evander Holyfield being disqualified for knocking the guy out?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I tell you, Holyfield twice this has happened. Holyfield got robbed against Nikola Bayev. You know what I'm talking about? I want you to look at them CompuBox numbers when they fought for a title. This ain't been like 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago. Let me see when it was exactly. But he got robbed. Can you pull up Evander for me there, Joy? I got your name right. Can you think you can pull him up? Appreciate it. But yeah, he got jibbed in that fight. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going off the top of my head. And it was bad, a bad robbery. Evander Holyfield is the real. He's the last of the pure warriors we've had in the sport.
What a warrior!
Yeah, it was 2008, and if you look at them damn CompuBox numbers, man, they give a majority decision to Nikolai Bayer. This was for the WBA World Heavyweight title. Okay, this is when he was trying to become the 5-time world champion, I believe, something like that, and which is just crazy when you think about it in its own self. Heavyweight, as far as being 5-time heavyweight world champion, that means you've lost some bitch 4 times.
Yes.
But he lost to the best,
Correct.
I'm trying to get him to pull that fight up.
Started off as a light heavyweight.
Yeah, fought a cruiserweight, was a cruiserweight world champion, then moved up. He knew he could beat Tyson before it ever happened. And do what, Joy?
Did you know it?
Huh?
Did you know it?
Yeah. That fight was originally scheduled for June 1990. And me and Burnham was still real close, and we was like 19 years old, 20 years old, 19. And at that time, and we was arguing back and forth about who was going to actually, who could win that fight. Bender had, his amateur coach was ours too, So he'd stop by the gym occasionally, and he truly believed that all he had to do was just sit and pound Tyson's gloves into his face when he had that peekaboo style, and would frustrate him. And as long as he led with his head, down, and if you watch, that's how he beat him both times. Both times. But then Tyson stopped using that style too, though, after Buster Douglas beat him. He got away from, the farther he got away from Kevin Rooney, the worse he got.
I'll tell you why I was wrong on that fight. Because there was something I was right about, which foreshadowed that Buster Douglas lost long before he fought Buster Douglas. I said that Tyson will be beaten, will be knocked out, it'll be more than once before his prime, and it will be by a tall fighter who throws really good straight punches, jabs, and right crosses, and is good at avoiding infighting. But when they squared off against Holyfield, I liked Holyfield, but didn't favor Holyfield. I liked Holyfield as a guy, a man, but I thought that he was going to get into and pretty much fight Tyson's fight. Hard punches, not a lot of really highly stylized boxing, but that Tyson was just way better than he was at that kind of fighting. And boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
He absolutely overpowered Tyson. And then I realized, Tyson can be beaten by more than one style.
Yeah.
Tyson might not do too well against any other boxer who's really elite and anywhere near his prime.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And as I stated, we talked about, I think it was last show me and you did together. I mean, I've done a couple, but that the 90s is a very underrated era for heavyweights. There was some good heavyweights in the 90s. Let's not even count George Foreman, which I had him in my top 15 boxers of all time list. Okay, Foreman. He won a title in 95. He beat Michael Moore. But we'll take him off of it. But you got Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe. These are guys that were world-class boxers and fighters. World-class. And Lennox will probably, he's got in most people's top 10 all-time list. Lennox Lewis is. Heavyweights anyway. No, I ain't talking about pound for pound, don't get me wrong. He's not there. But he is on heavyweights. And Holyfield, he fought everybody. Everybody. It didn't matter. He fought them all. You can't say that about Mike Tyson. Him and he kind of dodged Galata for a little bit. Andrew Galata, remember him? The one that got disqualified against Riddick Bowe 2 times. And then he ended up fighting him and beat the piss out of him. But then Tyson failed a marijuana test, if you remember correctly, after that fight. And this is something we talked about not too long ago. Wouldn't you love to fight somebody on high on pot? Well, yeah, I would have, but I don't guess it worked out too well for Galata that day in October of 2000 or whatever it was. I think that's when it was, something like that. And Tyson knocked him out. Tyson had devastating power. He really did. And it was
too.
Huh?
And speed too.
Yeah. He had devastating power and speed, and he'd come from such a low center of gravity, and it would come from the feet up. And that uppercut, that he caught Spinks with, and it wasn't a flush uppercut that he caught Spinks with either, really, per se, as much as it was just, it had so much power. And, he lost the Douglas fight, but you couldn't go back and look at it, and you count it. The guy was down 13 and a half seconds, technically, in the round 8, Douglas was.
Well, Tyson got a slow count, too. So we do have to point this out, however, that a 10 count is not 10 seconds. It's the referee's count of 10.
Exactly. It isn't necessarily 10 seconds. Now, granted, it is supposed to be once the fighter hits the mat. There's a ringside attendant, okay, that picks up a count. and under most, and the referee, once he gets the opponent to a neutral corner, not to his corner or the opponent's corner, but to a neutral corner, is where he's supposed to go. He's supposed to look to that attendant and pick up the count from there. So if the count's at 6, he picks it up at 6. If it's at 2, he picks it up at 2. Now, but like you said, it hardly ever is it actually to 10 seconds. I have seen short counts. Okay? I've seen short counts, but I've seen long counts too. And I've seen fights got stopped that I didn't think should be stopped. I've seen fights that didn't get stopped that I knew should have been stopped. So on and so forth. And this gets into a whole different thing. And, and I think that would be a good episode. We might do one on robberies, the biggest robberies. Huh?
I need to ask you a question about the long count on Buster Douglas. If you look at it, you get the impression that if the count had been a little quicker, he would have gotten up quicker.
Yes, I do.
He spent some of that time expressing how frustrated he was about being
knocked down. Yeah, I do.
So I think that was a quicker count he could have gotten up.
I agree with you.
I can't say that for sure because when somebody's knocked down, weird things can happen. Like Jab Judah against Pascal2, he was able to gesticulate and speak very articulately, but his feet weren't under him.
Yeah. That was the chicken dance. Yeah, he wasn't exactly.
A very cogent lecture to the rest. Mouth moving very quick, the eyes perfectly clear, but look what his legs were doing.
Oh, that was hilarious. I remember that. That was hilarious. And Joey pulled up Evander's thing here for me. I asked him a minute ago, and I was just thinking. Now all the big fights are in Vegas. That's where they have them. Evander fought Vegas, Atlantic City, Atlanta, Georgia, Michigan. You know what I mean? They were all over the place, and I've noticed that they've got away from that some. Texas holds some, and Dallas, they had a Pacquiao fight right there in that new Cowboy Stadium, or what is it called? AT&T Stadium now, ain't it? Or something like that. But there ain't a whole lot that's held outside of Vegas, and UFC holds damn near everything they do in Vegas as far as pay-per-views. Floyd Mayweather I think he had a damn house, an extra room there at the Grand. All his stuff was there. And I like, man, I was really looking forward to this fight with Darnell. I really was. To go out there.
Don't give up on it completely yet.
But
the final cards have to be played before the game is over.
Yeah, I know. And it's there's still some cards that left in the deck. You're right. But
and I really have to say that what's going to determine it is exactly how strong the people in Darnell's corner are.
Exactly.
We did not determine it because I know what I would do.
I know, me too.
But I am not the one there. We talked about some documents. We talked about, but we can do some of this anyway. Max Kellerman needs to be informed about what happened.
Exactly.
And I think that even if Darnell's people are a little confused and upset and reeling, that Max Kellerman may do his own investigation on this one.
Yeah, he's a big fan of Darnell's. Big fan of Darnell's.
He might say, "Oh, what's going on over here?" It's even a national affiliation, the American against the foreigner. It may work out.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna sit down and hammer away on it in the morning. Actually, I was gonna start on it this evening. There's my fiance calling me now. But I was gonna start on this evening.
Read an article on it, but I have to talk to Darnell first.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him, and maybe we'll talk to him tomorrow. Sometime.
I don't have his telephone number, so